Mayday, 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 mayday. Man shot in trouble. Somebody come rescue us, man. Huh. Monstrat was sailing in full speed under the leadership of Groove Mead. Then they turned the ship over to a captain named Romeo. Then all of a sudden the ship started going down. So they brought a new captain hailing from long ground. Some people start swimming, some even start drowning. Monstrat in trouble. Who better rescue my people? United, 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 united alliance. United, united, united alliance. United, united. Monstrat is in distress. We need you to clean up this mess. United, 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 united alliance. United, united, united alliance. United, united. With your strong leadership, we know you can steer this ship. You have the capacity to turn this country around. With your competent crew, we will rebound. It's not too late. In your team, we put our faith. United alliance, come rescue your people. United, united. We need a captain on board. Yeah, man. Our country is now at the brink. If we don't change course, we bound to sink. So we need a competent crew to turn this ship around. So now is not the time to procrastinate. Get aboard the ship before it's too late. Monstrations come, non-nationals come. Let us unite as one to build back this nation. United, 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 united alliance. United, united, united alliance. United, united. Montserrat is in distress. We need you to clean up this mess. United, united, united alliance. United, united, united alliance. United, united. With your strong leadership, we know you can steer this ship. You have the capacity to turn this country around. With your competent crew, we will rebound. It's not too late. In your team, we put our faith. United alliance, come rescue your people. United, united.
Good morning, listeners, and welcome to another edition of the program. Let's talk with the United Alliance. This morning, I'm sort of a little bit sad as we think about another situation which we face as a country and as a community. And I'm referring to the missing of Mr. John Lee at sea. You know, when these things happen, it affects all of us. It seems to cut through the entire grain of this community. So as we sit here this morning with heavy hearts, we pray for his safe return to the family and friends out there. I know a lot of us are going through this difficult time. But I say let us keep faith in God, trust and hope for the best. And in his time, he will deliver what he knows is good for us. So once again, to the family and friends of Mr. Lee, let's keep praying and keeping the faith and hoping for the best. This morning, as United Alliance, we'll be talking about the cost of living. But before we get into that aspect, I would like to just give the team a chance to just speak a little bit about what happened in their minds. As they speak, you'll get to know who's in the studio. And I like to start off this morning talking about something I keep hearing coming out of the MCAP camp. And the leader keeps talking about what has to be done in the first 100 days in office. And I am a little bit confused. As a government in power, I thought we talk about what the continuing programs, what you'll be continuing to, what you'll be doing for the people. You're speaking as if this is a new government. Sometimes I've wondered if because they changed the leader that signifies that it's no longer MCAP. Because as a government in power, why would you be talking about what you plan to do in the first 100 days in office? Leave that for us, the newbies. We should be the ones telling people what we are going to be doing in the first 100 days in office. You have been in office for 4 years. For 4.5 years, you've been in office. Don't take that to the people and tell them what you plan to do in the first 100 days. If you didn't do it in 4.5 years, it's very unlikely you'll be able to do it in 100 days. Don't stop trying to fool the people. Very unlikely. You had 4.5 years, you failed. It's time for you to leave. Let us talk about what we will do when we get into office in the first 100 days in office. John, I see you smiling. What do you want to say?
I had to laugh because I'm listening to their messaging and I'm just as confused as you. I am listening to, I guess, the new leader saying that it's time for change and it's time for true leadership. So I'm trying to figure out, Austin, like, who are they really drawing those words for? Because it can't be us because we haven't been in government. So for me, I'm wondering if the current leader of MCAP is throwing words for the outgoing leader. I wonder if he's trying to say that the outgoing leader was inadequate or the outgoing leader they stopped him from making certain decisions. I don't know. I'm trying to get the messaging.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that to me because one week I heard the outgoing leader on the radio talking about people who in government who don't talk to people and young leaders need to go and talk to people. And I said to myself, I wonder who the man cussing this time because you sound like somebody I know. You know, this level of confusion seems to be getting to me.
Well, when you have a party who is in government who is saying time for a change, I think the public can agree with them. It is indeed time for a change. So time for MCAP to be out, and the change is the United Alliance.
Well, I agree, but I couldn't help but think a little deeper into it. Yeah. If your party tried to return 3 out of 4 ministers back into government, the mindset doesn't change. So I have to be wondering, and because I know the gentleman so well, I have to be wondering what games he really playing. So I think 2 of the 3 might have to go watch himself if the party got even try to get in at all, because he might go get rid of them too.
Yeah, and I realized you also smiling over there because you made a statement earlier this morning about things you see happening, things that should have been done 4 years ago.
And that leave me baffled too. I see some houses currently under repairs. I know the persons living in the houses have been waiting years on the housing list to get permanent housing. I know they've been speaking of the deterioration of the houses. And this past week, I suddenly saw galvanized on the houses being changed. Windows are taken out and modern windows are being put in. And I'm wondering, is this a political gimmick? Because it appears that the monies were held to be used for campaigning. Because where did the money suddenly come from to buy galvanized and to buy windows and to pay labor to repair these houses? Where did the money come from? Was it being held? It is unethical. It is unethical and unconscionable to have people living in those houses with water beating in through the windows, and they have to put pans near the bed to catch water when rain is coming. And now, because politics is here, you want to come to change the roof and change this and change that. It is unethical. It is unethical what is happening. And I'm thinking these house owners, maybe if it was me, maybe now is the time for them to call for house and land. Because since these persons in office are playing politics, and want to now come to do everything to hope that the people vote for them because they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put bucket and pan near the bed. 'Cause they no longer have to put And no longer have to stuff the cloth in the side of the houses where draft blowing in on them. They need to ask for house and land too, because something seemed to have been hidden somewhere in the housing department or wherever the monies were hidden that is now being pulled out. I have a few people on my list. Maybe I need to contact the minister to see if I can get some repairs for them too.
Well said. And as John was talking about games being played, I mean, a certain young lady coming from the sports center the other day, distraught, she was concerned. She's saying to me, Mr. Skerritt, could you imagine? We have a netball tournament coming in a couple of weeks at the end of the month, and we are down here struggling to move the basketball rings. I said, well, that's not a problem, man. That is an easy fix. So I did the logical thing, which I would call the minister and ask the minister, well, this is happening, and give advice. Tell me what's happening. But he said, well, I don't deal with that, I don't deal with these type of things. There's a director for that. But here it is, our young ladies are preparing to go and represent the country. And the minister responsible for sports is detached. Not only does he not care about their practice time and the facility, but he just gives no thought to the fact that they need to move these rings so the young ladies could play. I mean, I know he doesn't want them to go back to the braids, but here is it, we have the best indoor sporting facility in the region. And the attitude, my colleagues around the table and those listening online, is as if, well, all is well. And these young ladies are going to be representing this country, and we all support them. So why don't you put in the effort? Give them the lighting that is on island. Move the rims. These are the things that the country wants to know. And you say you're doing a good stewardship of sports. Look at Little Bay. We haven't played cricket down at Little Bay for 5 years. These are the things I'm asking the listeners, to those persons who are portraying themselves as the right persons for government. Even the president of the association speaking in public saying that, oh, let them find a place to go practice. You must not say these things in public. You mustn't say these things about young ladies. The president of Maba, he's running as well.
And who is that?
Oh, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
So these are the things that are being portrayed. So it's like it's passing on from generation to generation. And that's why I had to come out of that organization, because I don't want certain things to come into me. When we talk about sports, it's sports for all, not sports for one set of persons only.
It is indeed time for change. They are very correct. It is time for change to a government that cares, strong leadership, capable leadership, competent leadership. And so, when United Alliance take over the government, we know that this type of thing would not happen. They would not need to be calling anyone, but what needs to be done shall be done. The infrastructure would be enhanced, and we'll be supporting our sportsmen and women. I've always advocated for decent housing, and it's time to change. We in Munster, it is our culture to aspire to own homes. So why are we patching up rather than putting forward a plan to rehabilitate, take those houses off and put in a decent housing section for our people to live in, for our children to live in? There is a child who lives in that same area, and the mom is very concerned about the child's welfare and well-being because of the conditions of the house. I am not against repairs, but not at this time. We must ensure that government funds are used efficiently and effectively. It is time for our people to have decent housing. And it is time for change to a government who can execute that type of project.
Well, the only unfortunate thing that with MCAP in power, they should have called elections every year. Maybe a lot more things would have been done if election was every year, because also we fixed a long time ago.
But you're reading my mind.
Yeah, and I say this. All of a sudden, Mr. Me, the Twin Otter can now land fully laden in Montserrat. The same Twin Otter that we have been asking for over years. All of a sudden, the Minister of Communication comes and declares that the Twin Otter can now land fully laden in Montserrat.
No, but go further than that. Let's talk about the AFAs. All of a sudden now, AFAs are $400 round trip. Let's talk about that. So what are you telling me? you could have done it before. So why didn't you do it before? Mr. Mead, you want to elaborate on why you thought maybe they didn't do it before?
No, I don't even want to go into that, because playing with the airfares and playing around with government money at this time is what they're doing, and they're saying I am the unethical one. And just look at what they're doing, and you'll see ethics. But what I want to touch on, and it's still going back with the airline. A friend of mine called me Monday morning. And I said to him, okay, we'll meet up tomorrow. He said, no, well, it's just a pit stop. He left Florida on Thursday so he can come and spend the weekend with his mother. He spent most of the time in the airport in Antigua and was able to only spend 24 hours in Montserrat. 24 hours. So he came in Sunday evening and left Monday afternoon. Now, so it's not about the airfare, it's about access. And to hear a minister finally, who has been sleeping in Parliament, the Deputy Premier, sleeping in the legislature, not only the legislature, in cabinet, where we have been saying, let us get the Twin Otters in. SVG brought a Twin Otter from St. Vincent to Antigua when there was no avgas. And only now he realized that the Twin Otter could have come in here fully laden. A Twin Otter coming in here fully laden takes in 3 times as many passengers as an islander. Even if it goes out with reduced payload, it takes out twice as many passengers as an islander. So there's no magic behind it. This is where they should have focused their attention to get people in and out. Imagine one of our colleagues had to go to England to see his mother, his ailing mother, and had to call a speedboat from Antigua to come and pick him up so he can get his flight in Antigua, because he couldn't get a flight out of Montserrat. A friend of his called him and said, look, I hear you have a speedboat coming to pick you up. Or rather, he called a friend to let him know, I have a speedboat coming, so if you want a ride, you can come with me. And by the time he called the captain, what they're basically saying, Bruds, all the seats have been sold off. And that is what is now happening as it relates to access into Montserrat. We have to fix it, and we will fix it.
Yes.
I am happy for the $400 so that my people can go and come. But are they saying to us now that this $400 is what is reasonable? Because you need to ensure that persons can rely on your fares, because people have to plan their trips. So don't play games with the fares. Determine, is this the fare that is reasonable for a round trip in and out of Montserrat? Not a political gimmick, but this is what it should be, because persons need to rely on this. Is this a summer program? Is this for the summer? What is this? Why are you doing this?
Only until end of October. Very, very discreetly to the end of election day.
Right, pretty much.
You know, as I said earlier, maybe MCAP should have had elections every year, and so much more would have been done in that time.
No,
but we'll move on.
No, but let me finish so we can get into the topic, because I'm guessing that's where you're gonna go next.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just openly tell the group, and so you understand, the gentleman, you understand the new leader of MCAP. When you hear him talking sometimes, you have to also understand that when he's throwing shots, he's projecting. You would have, Mr. Mead would have been on the radio with the technicians talking about Twin Otters. No, he's trying to fix the Twin Otter issue. I got a text message this morning that someone said that he's copying my trade idea, but he's going to throw shots at us also and then copy some of the ideas. I heard recently, because somebody sent me a clipping, that he was throwing some shots at me about the gas issue, things that he knows are not true. So since the topic that we're going into today is cost of living, I wanted to talk about the current gas issue as one of the first things in terms of cost of living.
Yeah, John. I'll let you get into that.
Okay.
But just one little introduction, then we get directly into the topic. So I didn't want you to start, and then I have to cut you.
No. Okay,
So,
you would have just led straight into it. But
You
go
know,
ahead.
so we just take a little bit of music, and then we go right into the discussion.
I need oxygen to stay alive. I need nutrients to survive. I can't breathe in this environment. I'm stifled by defeat and government. When you examine the state of the country, that is the tone, that is the phrase, that is the word from the lips of everybody. The thermal dead, the economy dead, MCAP dead, PDM dead, the whole country dead, dead, dead. Life in monster, dread, dread, dread. Funerals have become regular, so I'm keeping far from Lizzie and Christopher. Not even fire that could raise the country head. Even the partner will be dead, he dead, he dead, dead, dead. Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh.
Yes, I think that explains where we're going this morning. The country dead. MCAP dead. PDM dead. So thank goodness there's a part grouping called United Alliance. And they've been throwing some shots at by a good leader saying that he's come to resurrect and he's Moses and all that. But the fact is, if the country is dead, we need to find a way to resurrect the dead. And that is why the United Alliance is here, to resurrect what is clearly dead. This morning we're going to talk about as a cost living. And I want listeners to call in if they have a chance. Call us at 491-7227, 491-9064, 496-2885. That's our WhatsApp number. Before we start, it came to my attention that this week, Monlek has been out there disconnecting persons. And this is not a critic of Monlek, of Mol. It is a fact that in one day you had to disconnect over 100 customers, with many more to come. What does it say to you as a people when almost 15 to 20% of the country is set up for disconnection from essential services, light and water? 15 to 20% of your nation find themselves in that unfortunate position. Now, I don't want to think that people just want this and nobody want to pay the bill. It clearly tells me that there's something fundamentally wrong with our economy. The question is, how can we, as a grouping, address this and fix it? And that is why this morning we're talking about cost living and how this team would approach that topic. First of all, one issue we have that affects the entire cost of the whole issue of gasoline, of fuel. And John, because you're more versed in that field than most of us, I would like us to start talking about fuel, its impact on the economy, its impact on the country, because at the end of the day, most fuel is what they need to run the generators. And when we don't pay the bills, they disconnect us. So it becomes a trickle effect where everything seems to be spiraling downhill.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up that way, because that's the topic I was going to go down earlier. Somebody sent me a clip of them trying to play the blame game, trying to say that, I don't know who they did, but they're trying to say some gentleman who is running is part of the reason why the gas prices are up. We obviously know that's a lie, because we know that government has full control over pricing of fuel. But I wanted to talk about something more. I want to talk about MUL. I wanted to talk about some deals that they would have had on the table that they would have actually just let slide on to the public without telling anybody. What I'm disappointed in, Austin, is that whenever the gas stations have an issue, government seems to want to publicize that issue in a negative way. I think people would have been aware of the back and forth that me and the outgoing premier had on the radio. So I don't need to get into that. I don't need to attack anybody's characters. So let's just talk about the policies and how they deal with certain negotiations. Now, what the public doesn't know is that your gas prices are actually higher because the MCAP government had a new deal with Delta Petroleum that you don't know about. Everybody knows that both Delta and the gas stations have a margin. But what you don't know about is that this year, MCAP went into a deal with Delta to raise Delta's margin by 75 cents. Now, you might ask, okay, well, how does that impact the whole economy? What is important to understand is if the gas stations get a margin increase, it impacts you if you go to the pump to buy gas. Delta's margin increase has more impact on the economy than anything else in terms of fuel pricing. Not only does it increase the fuel price at the gas stations, but it also increased the cost of fuel that Mull has to purchase.
John, forgive me. Ethical or unethical, you say to me or to us this morning that the government of Montserrat made a decision to increase the margin of Delta. This increase, I mean, they love to talk about being open and honest. Nobody in this country is aware that this has taken place. They have not come to do it. They love to come to ZDB and make statements. I see neither the premier nor his deputy saw it fit to come and tell the people of Montserrat that we have decided to do this.
No, because for obvious reasons, Austin, you can tell the obvious reason why they didn't do that. Well, as I said, let me explain, because one, for the gas stations that have to buy fuel, it carries up their costs. For Mull that has to buy fuel, it carries up Mull's costs. Now, if you're government and you're so smart, what I'm saying is you're going to strike a deal. You came on the radio to say that Mull is bankrupt. We've heard them say that. When I did my calculation, 75 cents onto the gasoline price, the diesel price, right now, takes up Mull's expense for fuel by almost 10%. So you're already bankrupt, and now you have to buy fuel for almost 10% more. You can't afford it, Austin. So who do you think has to pay for that fuel?
You see, the reason I'm pressing this one on is because I have heard people saying my light bill keep coming up and they can't understand. If you ask 90% of the country, they keep saying my light bill keeps going up and I can't understand. I'm using less and paying more.
Yeah, so what you tend to find happening, let's just cut to the chase. It goes on to the fuel surcharge. And the fuel surcharge then goes on to the public. So what John is in effect saying, we have increased the fuel surcharge because of government's position. And it was right of government to say to the public, we have increased the cost of fuel. But they have not said it.
So the customer blames Mull and say Mull jacket. That's what's happening. The
Yeah.
customer is blaming Mull.
And secondly, for the minister with responsibility for Mull to say that Mull is bankrupt and they're fixing it, yet at the same time, you're bankrupting not only Mull, but you're bankrupting the rest of the society. Clearly, he does not understand what needs to be done.
Well, let's go back to what Austin said earlier. How many disconnections again we have for the month?
But that explains why I have 100 plus in one day plus how many more to come. I mean, because that is what the people are saying. Why is my bill so high? I'm trying to use less. I'm putting in all these fancy, what do they call them? Energy saving bulbs. Right. And with all you're doing, your bill still keeps going up.
No, but you would notice if you check your bill, the fuel surcharge is actually higher than the rate that they charge you just for the electricity.
Yes, it's about 3 times higher.
Well, one of the things which we're planning to do immediately in getting into office is that we will have a consultant, locally based, who will go into Mull to look at Mull's operations and make a recommendation to government as to how to deal with all of these matters and what we need to do in order to put Mull on a sound financial footing once again. I also got a call from someone in the UK who says, how much would it cost to fix the problems that Mull is having in relation to their generating sets? And I gave him a figure off the top of my head. He said, well, that's pretty much what I thought. So why don't we get it done? Because every time there's a power outage, it impacts on the economy and it impacts on the cost of living.
So, Austin, because we're a government that just doesn't come here and throw the blame, and we're a solution-based party, I wanted to throw out one of the solutions that I know that they would have known that they could have actually brought down the fuel price. Mr. Mead, I want to take you back some years into when you were in government. I want to talk about a deal that you would have had with Delta before in terms of paying for the fuel trucks. And I know that a part of that deal was whenever they had accrued enough money to pay back for the fuel trucks, the rest of the money would have gone into increasing the capacity at the bulk station. Now, I know that there was a gentleman that was a part of your government at the time who is the current leader who would have been aware of that deal. So although we might have been in the media, we'd have heard of this 6 cents and they made a whole big deal out of it. I would have expected that because he was under your stewardship at the time, that he would have known what you were trying to achieve with the deal. And I don't know if you mind if I give somebody...
Yeah, sure.
So basically what that deal was is that Austin, they would have increased the capacity, and I'll tell you how that helps the whole economy and brings down the cost of living. When Delta delivers fuel to Montserrat, the freight on the fuel is a flat rate. What that means, it doesn't matter the amount that you bring, it's still the same price. So if I bring 20,000 gallons, and let's say for instance, the freight is $20,000. I'm just trying to make the figures easy for everybody to understand. 20,000 gallons over $20,000 adds $1 to the fuel price. Now, if you're in a deal with Delta where they constantly increase the volume at the plant, and you knew that you would have increased Delta's margin by 75 cents, costing everybody, not just on the gasoline side, but on the electricity bills, etc. If you get to 40,000 gallons, it means that 50 cents goes on instead of $1. If you eventually, let's say, perhaps you get to the point where you get to 100,000 gallons, it means that you have now eliminated that whole 75 cents and you would have been saving people 5 cents. Granted, 5 cents might not seem like a lot, but you would have just saved 80 cents completely over the course of time. This is the kind of negotiations that I expect governments to have. If you're going to get into a negotiation with a company that's going to cost your people, I expect that you get something out of the negotiation also. There has to be some balancing act. You cannot enter into negotiation and you're the only one that's losing.
Well, there's a discussion which I had with the general manager, the regional general manager, I'll call him, when he was here. We took a walk around the yard. Currently, we have storage for 3 weeks. That's totally inadequate. If we were to increase the storage to about 4 to 6 months storage, the point which you're making in terms of the reduction in the cost would happen. But you'd also be in a position to buy fuel when fuel prices are low. And in this way, you can stabilize the price of fuel and you say, look, we're going to set our fuel prices for 1 year. So you don't have to be having an up and down in the fuel prices anymore. Set it for 1 year because you have increased storage capacity. Okay, that was the intention with the 6 cents that was added on. Clearly, the Premier understood that because he was in cabinet, unless he was sleeping. But he must have understood it. But they threw Delta under the bus and pretended, oh, we didn't know anything about it. And then made a big hoopla about it. And one of the things which they have not come back to the public to say is that rather than Delta having to pay them back the 6 cents, they owed Delta more than what they were supposed to get.
I knew that, but I wasn't going to say it.
Okay. So these are issues which are happening. And it's how you can look at, you have to now look at how can you reduce the cost of living. Fuel is one of those critical areas. And this is one of the discussions which we're having in terms of reducing the cost of fuel and fuel prices to the public and to MUL. Along with the discussions with the consultant who would be looking at MUL's operations for us, we will then be in a position to come back to the public and say, okay, we're getting rid of the fuel surcharge and we're setting base rates so that people know what their price of electricity will be from month to month.
And at the same time that we are doing that, our manifesto has illustrated that we are also going to be exploring the thrust for green energy without undermining MUL, and that is part of what the consultation would be able to speak to, how we can do that effectively, yet not undermine MUL.
Okay. Since you've introduced green energy, I had a call yesterday from a senior civil servant who said there are some persons here who have been trying to have meetings with government, but were unable to meet with anybody in government. So I said, okay, I'll meet with them. They are putting forward a proposal, which is not a very expensive proposal, in order to be able to use the garbage that we generate here to turn that into electricity as well. But also use getting stuff out of the garbage, which they can export. Old vehicles, old refrigerators, old television sets, name it. Things which they can recycle, all of the motor tires that we have going to the garbage dump, shredding those and getting those off island. And that does two things. One does not see it as impacting the cost of living, but it increases employment opportunities as well, so that persons can now find themselves being employed, and our export income also goes up. So these are things which we're working on, and it's interesting that as I said to them, why are you calling me? And they said, well, I'm not going to go into what they said.
Well, there's another opportunity, as we see, for ensuring that our people can have money through creating employment opportunities. And we're not going to be focusing on green energy, but just to say again, with all those roads, with the climate that's evolving, Montserrat is abundantly green at this point. But the roads are becoming hazardous because the trees and the grass are so high that you can't see the vehicles coming around the corner. And this is an opportunity to put people to work at this time, as well as looking after the safety and well-being. And that which we cut can also be turned into manure, again for our farming and building our farming industry and our food security.
Well, since you introduced it, and before we move on to the next section in it, we have to compliment the public works guys who are working under extremely difficult conditions. Yes. Short-staffed, short on everything pretty much, but being asked to run all over the place to do things. Guys from the Public Works Division, big up to you. You know we have your back.
Definitely.
So let's move on to the next.
In that sentiment, you probably should say thanks to the MUL guys as well. Because I understand that they're doing a lot, but their storerooms are empty. They don't have anything to really actually fix the generators for whatever reason. So the fact that they're still giving us electricity, we should thank them, because it means that they'll have to be very creative in how they're dealing with the situation currently. So I'll hand over to Austin.
Yeah,
and they have been. We want to thank them, and we want the people to know that our personnel at MUL have been working even without a pay rise. They haven't had any increase in their salaries for how many years, and they're with us through storm, through thick, through thin, being ingenious in how they can provide electricity for them. So again, we salute them. Yeah. And this is coming from the heart. And the guys who work in the power station that have to listen to the noise all night, all day actually, again, and they're young people, to be able to enjoy that, I really salute them and thank them for what they have been doing for this country.
So we'll continue on the discussion where we started this morning about the whole idea of cost of living. One thing that gets impacted, again, through electricity, is food. And food takes form. There's food that's imported and how we deal with that, and food that is locally grown by our local farmers. That also has an impact on the cost of living. And as a side way, I would like to ask the Minister of Agriculture to find out from his leader, his present leader, why is it that farmers saying they're not voting for him? Because it is said that there's only one supermarket in this country that does not carry local products. If you're talking about expanding the use of local products and selling it, I think that all supermarkets should be quite prepared to sell and carry local products, because the farmers are complaining. The farmers are actually complaining that this particular shop will not do that. So we continue into the cost of living and food. What can we do to address that situation?
Well, Austin, I'm glad that you brought up agriculture. But whenever we go into agriculture, you know that I like to attack it from two different perspectives, especially when we're dealing with the cost of living. Because us as the United Alliance, what we want to do through agriculture, we want to lower the cost of food by producing locally. But we also understand that cost of living, part of the issue with having a high cost of living in Montserrat is that people just don't make enough income. They don't have enough money in their pockets. So the other direction in which we want to attack the cost of living, especially through agriculture, is by creating micro industries for people to have additional income so that they could literally just make more money. People would have heard, like in our first coming out at Davy Hill and talk about micro businesses. I'm sure she would love to expand on some of that. She could talk about the micro business. I can help her as well.
Yes. Well, one of the things that we would be encouraging too is for persons to use availability of whatever products is this to start doing something and making some funds for themselves. But as we know, the private sector is practically dead. Some persons just don't have the capital to start. Some farmers, small backyard farmers, they complain they don't have seeds to start. And some just don't know the full technology or the full techniques of what it is needed for them to start earning a living. Or some are doing it, but they need help in order to be able to maximize what little monies that they are getting. The United Alliance, we've put forward a bit of ideas as to how we are going to help this sector to grow, how persons can create employment for themselves and for others. And one of the first things we are talking about is training needs, having lots of opportunities for persons to get training, whether we bring trainers to Montserrat, we can use local persons who are here and are willing to train, so that persons can have an idea how to do things better, how to go about getting the most of what it is that they're doing. We also speak to the technicians. We have technicians who are doing a great job within the ministry, and definitely we'll be working with them because they too need some training from time to time in order to keep up with the new technologies, and so that they can bring it and impart it to the farmers or the backyard gardeners or the cottage industry persons to make a living for themselves, whether they're using breadfruit, mango, coconut, sowing in their houses, whatever it is that they are doing. So we need to get these technicians the necessary training to bring them online, and so that they can support these entrepreneurs until they are steady on their feet, until that they can fly.
Even coming up the road just now, I saw a farmer, and he seemed to be a little bit out of his wits this morning. So I said, "Farmer, what's happening, man? What happened to the corn this year?" And his eyes opened up wide and said, "Mr. Scary, no seed, Genzel, no seed there, no seed available." And it's funny because 2 weeks ago, I looked at an online posting by the Minister of Agriculture, and he had lots of seeds, corn seeds. And here it is, local farmers want to produce wholesome food for the people of Montserrat. And you cannot get any local corn in the supermarkets at this time. And it has to be the mindset. So therefore, the United Alliance is saying the corn is not for show and tell. The corn seeds, the pumpkin seeds, the different seeds are for the people, the farmers in Montserrat, so that, guess what? They can produce food, healthy, wholesome food, so that you can have people that are eating nutritious food. And it brings down that cost of living, because we're saying that the local food should be cheaper than what we're importing. We're thankful for what is coming in through the imports, but ultimately we want to produce our food so that we can consume more wholesome food.
Yes,
So-
we need to certainly create environment for our business people as well to flourish, as well as create other business opportunities. And
No, well, I was just going to ask Jenzil a very simple follow-up
Okay.
question. If we are producing food locally, as you're talking about, then is it possible that somebody who is in Dominica can take food from Dominica, put it on a boat, pay fuel, pay diesel or whatever fuel the boat is using, bring it to Montserrat, land it in Montserrat, and sell it cheaper than what our local farmers can sell it for? It's a very rhetorical question.
Well, John, I'm not even going to get to that because the issue is for the people in Causeway who are accustomed to eating the roast corn. A man want to eat some roast corn down in Causeway on an afternoon with his family, John. And imagine there's no corn for them to partake in, there's no roast corn, there's no local farmer telling those stories and jokes that bring the community together. And we want, as a party, to say that we are going to bring back local food and to places that persons can commune and talk about the history, the things that we love in Montserrat. So yes, I get what you're saying, if it's possible. It should not be possible, but that is what is happening. And we are going to say as a party that we're going to find a way to provide plant materials, be it seeds or young plants, so that we can have that nutritious food from the land so that people can eat wholesome and local food.
The other aspect is the change in technology, using hydroponics, aquaponics, greenhouse technology. This will also be lead us to a position where we can program production. So you need X amount of lettuce, and yes, there's a lady who is doing a fantastic job on the lettuce, so I'll leave that out. So let's say tomatoes. You need tomatoes every month. You can program which greenhouses will be producing lettuce when. I may be getting it wrong, but that's roughly what we're saying.
our salad and
So
vegetable.
you can program crops coming in so that your supermarkets and your whoever are in a position to know, okay, yes, we can supply and we can supply at a low cost. But let me just take the discussion into another area, which is the importation of food. Because we can't control the price of imported food. And as one lady just WhatsApped me and said, senior civil servant, by the time you juggle your mortgage, your food, electricity, and medication bills, sometimes you have to juggle as to whether or not you're going to pay for medication or you're going to pay for food. We now have to look at how do we reduce the cost of the imported food? Because the cost of the imported food is not controlled by us. It's controlled by external forces. But there are certain things which we can control. In discussions with customs and a few of the merchants, we've all agreed that if we were to reduce the duty on freight, because you pay duty and consumption tax on freight. So if we reduce the duty on freight by 50%, in other words, you only pay for 50% of the freight when you're calculating your duty. That will substantially reduce the cost, not only of food items, but of all products which we're importing. Now, one would ask, well, you're giving up all that revenue. You're really not giving up that much revenue, because at the end of the year, because of these vast increases in freight charges, government always ends up with a surplus, which is why at the end of the financial year, they're boasting, oh, we've made a surplus. Let us give it back to the people through these inventive ways by reducing the duty on half of the freight charges. We can't do it for the full freight charge, but at least we can make an effort to do it on half of the freight charges. Secondly, if a merchant is bringing in a container load of products, let's say he has $100,000 to spend. He pays $60,000 to bring in his product, and $40,000 which he pays as import duty to government before he gets it on his shelf. What we're proposing is allow the merchant to spend the $100,000 up front and bring the full container load of stuff, and give them a turnaround time of 15 to 30 days to then pay the duty after they've sold the product. And this will also lead to savings to the merchants, which they can pass part of that back to the people. Customs has suggested if you're going to do these two initiatives, you will need to establish within the Customs Department a Customs Audit and Consumer Protection Unit to ensure that those savings are actually passed on to the consumers.
Another issue that many companies are faced with in Montserrat is many times they're taxed on the same monies that come into the business, and that inhibits expansion, also creating other opportunities for job creation. And we are committed, as you say, if you have money in your hand to spend, you will not feel the cost of living as much. So job creation is very important, and our honorable leader have already shared that he's discussing, he may want to expand on that with building a hotel, and that is no way is going to inhibit or stop the businesses that our apartment or local people have. We are about building wealth, allowing our people to build wealth and to prosper. That is what we are here about.
Well, one of the things which you're looking at, and when you're looking at cost of living, for some persons, mortgage is one, rental is another. So let's talk about the rental side of things. We can fix the rental costs, and this is not attacking a person like you and Dwayne who are in the rental business. There are many derelict houses across Montserrat where persons have gone to the UK and to the US and so forth, which we can bring back onto the housing market. We're not taking them from the owners. We're just simply saying to the owners, we will do a lease arrangement with you where we'll lease your house, we'll fix it up, and at the end of the lease, we hand it back to you. We can then make those houses available at very low rental cost so that young persons who want to move out from their parents and live on their own, police officers who come here needing accommodation, civil servants who are in high paid, and other persons, you can then have a market where you can control the rent and bring the rent low. And that will help, and that will facilitate. One, you're creating employment for bringing these houses back on stream. You're allowing persons in the UK who may want to come back home and saying, okay, yes, now I can afford some place and I can find some place. So we have to look at these inventive ways of getting these things done. So rental is a very significant part of your cost of living, and therefore we can address that through these type of initiatives. It does not mean we will not be building new houses, but the capital required for fixing up some of these houses is much less than what is required for the new build. Yes, of course, we will do the new build. Secondly, we need the population retention, because if your population is too small, your supermarkets, everything is too small. So therefore the unit cost goes up. One, we have to retain the population. And we'll reiterate, for the non-nationals who have to go in for time and get work permits, we're simply saying, no, we're going to cut that out. So you no longer need to go in for time and work permits once you've been here for a reasonable period of time. So that's one. The second element is creating employment opportunities. Almost every program we talk about this signature 120-room hotel facility. Then the Football Association said, but we have a 35-room facility and not even the tourist board come to visit it. We have to make those part of the discussion. We also have to bring people in, bring the tourists in, the yachties and so forth. Because if we have the mooring buoys along the coast, from Little Bay all the way over to Isles Bay. Yachts will come in, and the yachts will stay longer and they will buy from our supermarkets. They will also spend more time to do tours and to do things within Montserrat. And when they're buying from the supermarkets, they have to rent either a vehicle or get a taxi operator to come and do the business for them. We can sell them fuel, we can sell them water. So you increase your population because people will come. You build a hotel, people will come. And that creates more of an economy and prices will start falling.
And as we said, this is no way going to detract from our local real estate operators and those who have homes and apartments that they rent, because every bread in the basket has its owner. So we're not in any way trying to push out our local, but again to build wealth for our local people.
And as a real estate operator within the Montserrat market, I fully understand what is happening when it comes to person having a hard time, the cost of living. And I do my share as a humanitarian, and I've been working with people for 40 plus years, 50 years. I do my share. For me, when persons come and is looking an apartment to rent, I work with them on a level of where they are. If my price is set at $1,200 based on the market, and persons are always hitting me for always giving away, I would say, what can you afford? If it is that you can afford $800, I work with the person. And we have a relationship and a discussion that happens, because if they say, okay, I may get an increment or raise a pay next year, okay, next year you give me a $50. But in addition to that, to help persons, as most persons, I require a security deposit. A lot of the times, persons don't have the funds to pay the first month rent and the security deposit. Again, I would work with persons. How much addition can you afford monthly when you pay your rent? And we will stretch out the security deposit to make sure that I'm not putting too much stress on persons, because food is high, electricity is high, childcare is high, everything is high. And this is the way I have been working with a lot of persons, especially the young persons, to help them to afford to live in Montserrat. The other thing I always encourage young persons, get your own. Get your own. Yes, I'm in the business to make money, but at the end of the day, I want you to own a piece of Montserrat. I want you to feel valued. And this is one of the ways that we are going to retain our persons in Montserrat when they feel that they own something, they own a piece of the rock. So I'm not in no way deterred by us, the United Alliance, having and making provision for persons to have better housing or affordable housing, because I fit right in with it. I work with persons to help make living affordable.
Again, as I've said before, we have the competence and we have the experience to get the job done. As we are speaking, jobs do not come overnight. So in the meantime, we have our vulnerable families that we have to look out for. So we will be working with other organizations and the PTAs and the schools to foster breakfast clubs and our lunch program subsidized. When I was told by a teacher that some children are coming to school with a pack of Concords or whatever as their lunch, and that is not because the parent has the money to buy that snack. That is actually for them cheaper than being able to provide a nutritious lunch for the child. Now, if our children do not have the nutrition right, they cannot learn effectively. And so we are very concerned about families and our communities. We have already shared before that all children will receive medical care and medication free of charge. And all persons on Montserrat who are resident here would also be paying the same price when they go for health care. Welfare legislation must be looked at and streamlined. It is unfair that because your mother or you have two disabled persons living in a house and the payment is reduced. With the cost of living, that is just completely unacceptable and would be one of the first things that I personally will be taking on with whomever else that is responsible for that ministry.
Okay, we're going to take a music break. I'll encourage our listeners to call us immediately after the song. 491-7227, 491-9064, or you could WhatsApp us at 496-2885. Call, let your views be heard, and then we'll go into the musical break right now as we introduce one of our new releases.
Never again, never again. The voters say plain, we not voting and come back in. No way, never again, never again. We don't make up we mind, United Alliance this time. Oh, come, 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 come. Yeah man, United Alliance, let's go. We tired of suffering in this country. Yes, that is why we're bringing back Ruben Timid to take us out of this misery. We coming with John Osborne. We know you have the pedigree to lead the youths of this land. Yes, in business, motor sports and agriculture, you have a master plan. Tell them. Gentle Spirit, we know your history. When it comes to youths in this country, your passion goes way beyond. Our sports will be safe in your hand. Glenn Hickson, you are the foundation on which this party will stand. In tourism, business, infrastructure, we couldn't ask for better. Never again, never again. The voters say plain, we're not voting them cap again. No way, never again, never again. We don't make up we mind, United Alliance this time. Oh, tell them man, sing along with me. Oh, come, 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 come. Here comes the women. Huh. Dr. Buffang, Dr. Buffang, Dr. Buffang, we know how much you love people. Yes, that is why we need your help in healthcare to take it out of trouble. Tell them. Marjorie Smith, we know you have a great plan to revive re-education. Yes, in government affairs, we have no doubt you have the tools and experience. Tell them. And Thomas, you are the foundation. We gon' build the community on. In business, you have the answer to revive the private sector. Madam Dawson, what can I say? The woman affairs, you don't play. You have the capacity in every position with your experience and vision. Never again, never again. The voters say plain, we're not voting and cap again. No way, never again, never again. We don't make up we mind, United Alliance this time. Never again. Come, 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 come. United Alliance, the party of choice. Come one, come all. Never again for them come. United Alliance all the way. Yeah man.
Never again.
Never,
Never again.
The voters say it plain.
We're not voting who?
MCAP again.
Add PDM to that. We're not voting them again either.
Or their
listeners,
party.
listeners, you can call if you have any. Call 491-7227, 491-9064, or you can send a WhatsApp message to 496-2885. I know there's a couple of messages that come in, so we'll give you person on the table a chance to read those out.
Yeah, I just got a call. This is a follow-up call and actually a reminder. Persons who return to Montserrat from the UK over the years have had their pensions frozen. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect is that sometimes it's difficult for them to get their pensions sorted out. One of the commitments which we're making on the very, very, very first trip to the United Kingdom, we will be putting the frozen pension on the table for a discussion with both the Foreign Office, Home Affairs, and the Department for Pension and Works. So that's an assurance which we're giving.
Okay, I think we have a call coming in. Caller, good morning. Hello, good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk with the United Alliance. Okay, I think we lost that caller. Yes. Wanna continue?
Yes, we were talking about those messages coming in, and I also received a message. And it says, as cost of living soars, the burden of the family purse obviously becomes greater. And I agree with this person. People would be forced to buy only what they can afford, which may not be as nutritious. This would have a ripple effect as it could bring an illness and place pressure on the system. Both health and social services would be affected. And then, of course, ultimately, they said the crime will increase. So that is why we're discussing this issue this morning, to try to deal with, of course, the cost of living. We have a call on the line.
Yeah, I think caller, good morning and welcome to Let's Talk with the United Alliance. Okay, I think we have lost that call. We have a technical problem. John, you want to?
No, well, I'm just going through my WhatsApp. Jensen, I think you prompted somebody to ask this question because you were talking about Casbay and the togetherness that farming and stuff brings to people. And someone was basically saying that they remember the good days back in town when you had the public market, and asked if we plan to bring back an initiative such as the public market.
John, let me interrupt you again. Let me see if we could get to this caller. Hello, caller, good morning.
Yes, never again. Never again.
Never again. We're not voting.
Yes, no, I want to send this question to the panel because you've been talking about food security and with agriculture and the cost of living, so forth. As a young man, because I'm young still, trying to get my farm sorted out and so forth, doing the farming industry, food crops and so forth. What are your plans to assist us in terms of animals? Because one of the main problems that we face is the goat and the iguana. I mean, you have guys who have their goats and so forth. We're working with to try to see if we can help them with fencing to fence them in place. I know you guys have that in place. But with the farmers, we want the highest cost we have is to keep a goatee, iguana and so forth at bay. So what are your plans to help us in that region? I mean, with proper fencing and so forth. And water also, because I know a farmer came to us during our campaign, when our campaign challenge said, listen, I've already built my dam, and my highest expense is to get a covering to put inside of the dam to catch water, and nobody seems to want to even give me a help. So what are your plans to assist us so that we can have food produced on this island locally and in abundance? I'll listen after you.
Sorry, we missed the question a little bit because it wasn't coming to the speakers properly. But
Okay. I got part of the drift of the question.
Okay.
A few months ago, I think maybe almost close to a year ago, the Ministry of Agriculture, I think along with the police, did a certification program for shooters. Persons have been certified. A goat is you can't do much, neither the, what you call it, the rabbits, the iguanas. Not the iguanas. Yeah, the agoutis and the iguanas.
Yes.
We can, in fact, use some of these shooters to go out and shoot the iguanas and agoutis. Not to kill all of them, because they're part of our national wildlife, but be able to cull them. And don't cull them and leave them in the mountains, but cull them and create a market for them, because there's a market in the region for these products. So that is one. Two, if we're getting serious with farmers, we need to certify farmers, so we know who the real farmers are who are producing. Let us bulk purchase fencing wire, for example, and put together a program for providing fencing for your serious farmers who are attacked by animals. The ones that we really can't deal with fencing, then let's provide fencing for those who have animals so that they keep their animals fenced. And if they do not keep their animals fenced, then these shooters will have to go out and deal with those animals. So you're dealing with it twofold, because once you shoot the animals, you're going to use the meat.
Okay, I think we have
And
another. Just let me cut you, Ms. Dawson. I think we have another caller coming. Caller, good morning and welcome to Let's Talk.
Yeah, good morning to you all down there. I'm calling from Manchester. When a man retired, he don't have to call back in government or do no work for government because he's a retired man. Ark Jeffers went down there to give his all and all for Monster and you all run Ark. Why you don't run Ruben? Ruben don't have no call there.
Caller? Oh, I guess the caller's left. That is your opinion. I guess he's saying that person like myself who have retired should keep quiet. I don't know.
Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, so that's his opinion. Let's move on.
Any more questions around?
And the person with the dam issue, we will look into that because we have been on the campaign trail, and that for each farmer has a different need or may similar needs, and water is one, while some other farmers have access. So those are things we will look into and create the enabling environment to resolve them, not leave you floundering with them. As we say, we live local, but we think global, and we're going to act global. There are also many projects out there for climate change and food sustainability that we can tap into to help our farmers. And with my team, we will do all we can to establish that project unit that will go out there and pull those projects in to assist us with what other help we may need. We're not saying we're dependent on them totally, but we are going to be partnering with others in order to bring assistance and money and expertise into the country where it is needed. Where we have our local expertise, we will certainly be utilizing that.
The other thing with water too, and this would have to be a policy decision. We'll probably have to do some research on it. There are some areas where people do farm that water is actually available already. The problem with it is that there's no official agricultural rate for water. So perhaps we should, as a group, we'll look into actually creating official rates. Because as I said, if you want to grow an economy, you have to have incentive for the economy.
Good morning. I think we have another call on the line. No, okay, we don't have anyone there. What I have is a WhatsApp message that just came in, and it says, good morning today. Good morning today. Question is about about efficiency of customs. Okay, let me start at the top. Good morning, interesting program. Would love to hear about the plans for price control monitoring. Thank you. Anybody want to address that?
Well, I'd addressed that earlier on when I spoke about creating the audit unit and the consumer protection unit within the Inland Revenue Department. I think we have a caller coming in.
Okay,
another area we can directly impact on the cost of living as it relates to food-related items is bringing back some of the arable lands back online. So farmers looking for places to expand, be it the cattle or be it sheep and goat or even be it crops. Areas such as Corkill are available, St. George's Hill is available, and of course the Groves also has some land in there that can be easily brought back into production. And listeners, these are some of the ideas that you've brought forward and discussed with us. And as a government, we're saying we are willing to work with you to implement, providing that we have the support.
Okay. There's another question. I just want to deal with the questions that have been coming in fairness to the callers or messages. You said, good day, let us know what you're going to do with British state pensions, which are frozen in months. I guess that is in reference to something you said earlier.
Yeah, I'd responded to that earlier. I don't know if the caller listened, but that is one of the priority items for our very, very first visit.
Okay, and I think we have another caller coming. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. A pleasant good morning to the team. I like to say to that Manchester man that he don't live here. He have no need to call here to tell Mr. Meade where to go and where not to go. Let him keep off the radio. Thank you.
Okay, caller, thanks for that call. As you said, we have dealt with that already. And we'll continue with another. I'm just trying to find, there's so many messages coming in now.
In the meantime,
Yeah,
one
go
of the things that have been coming up is access to land. We will also open the discussion on the exclusion zone and agricultural land. We have the MVO, who has been in existence for several years now, who monitor that. And so this discussion will come up in terms of reopening our lands, as well as Cork Hill and Richmond Hill, those areas. What can we do to enhance? Again, green energy
Right now.
would be ideal for those areas, and water we also have to look at in those
I
areas.
think we have another call in line. Good morning. Welcome to the United Alliance.
Yeah, I'm back here on the phone again. Tell that lady, me tell you that I'm a Montreal, that me born in Montreal, and I have faith. Not because I don't live down there. I have faith. And Ruben don't have the call there. Ruben is a man, say he retired. And when you retire from a job, you don't have the post back there to look back for the same job.
Not to disrespect you, but we're trying to have a positive discussion this morning. And there's always a forum for people like you to voice your views, but let us focus on those.
No, let me answer that caller. I was happily retired. I had no intention of coming back out to work for anybody. I don't need to be in politics. The people of this country have asked me to consider to come back and help to retrieve the situation in Montserrat. I have heeded that call. I've given up my retirement. I've worked with a team that I'm nurturing. And if anybody followed us over the past 6 months, you'll see that the team has grown in terms of their confidence and in terms of their abilities. I sit back in most of these programs and allow them to lead. I allow them to lead elsewhere. And this is what we're expecting. A leader who comes back to help his country and not for personal gain. I'm not doing this for personal gain.
Okay, I think
So I hope the caller understands that.
I think we have quite a few questions. There's so many questions coming in now. When the United Alliance forms the government, would we be able to pay duties at the point of entry with our debit or credit cards? That's the question from one person.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, let me tell you something.
He said the other one says exchange rates available to officers at point of entry, so they are no longer just use U.S. exchange rates only. Canadian is significantly lower than U.S., and I feel ripped off when they use it.
No, okay. Exchange rates are not determined by government of Montserrat. The exchange rates are determined by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and they're posted daily, and those are the rates that have to be abided by.
There's another one says, I am now in the UK for medicals, but I am now thinking about living here because I can't survive in Montserrat. My land I love so much, but I had to run for my life. Sorry, Montserrat. There's no place in Montserrat for people who are differently abled.
Okay, let's respond to that one very quickly. Yes, over the years, there have not been places for differently abled persons in Montserrat. And one of the things, in terms of any new government buildings, they must be designed for differently abled persons. We have our community centers, which we're planning to use to assist persons who are differently abled as well, including senior citizens, so that they can go there, do craft, have conversations with one another, communicate with their relatives overseas, just being part of the society. There's at least one gentleman who used to work with government who is differently abled now. And I've said to him, once we get back into government, you're coming back out to work. You're sufficiently mobile on your scooter, you are coming back to work. So we're making provisions for all of those.
There's another one says, I'm happy civil servants get regular raise and stable salaries, but who will look out for the raise for the private sector workers?
Okay, private sector workers, that's normally done through taxation. We can't do much about that. It's unfortunate there are no unions anymore in Montserrat. But that, again, is a matter for the private sector. We can't do anything about it, other than setting minimum wage.
Yeah, I think this might be a final call. Caller, good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk with the United Alliance.
Hi, good morning. I have seen in my time candidates campaign making promises, and a government is formed. Their promises are not fulfilled for whatever reason. Elections again, candidates come with promises again, rhetoric, they get in, it's more or less the same. Another 5 years, another government, and with inflation and no clear development, country's development, it's getting worse. Clearly, for some people, it is getting worse. With no job creation avenues and entrepreneurship offers and so on. Now, how does this party, should they get into government, ensure that all the wonderful promises that they are making right at this moment are fulfilled at least by 75%? Thank you.
Well, one of the things which we plan to do, well, several things which we plan to do. One, we will reinstate the What's on Your Mind program so that persons can call in. We will also establish a policy advisory position, which is not a civil service position, so that persons can hold this government to account. So if we come out and we make promises and we're not fulfilling the promises, one, you can do it via radio and through social media. We will respond to all of those. And secondly, the policy advisor who will be part of this group will in turn be responsible for ensuring that we follow up on what we promised and feed that information back to the public, or the public feeds information to that person to say, hey, you guys came out and said you were planning to do this, you have not done it.
Another thing, Mr. Mead, which I think you should add for clarity for the public, is that you have stated that all ministers will have to take a day off or time out to ensure that the public have access to them. That is something you promised, isn't that so?
Yeah. One of the things which, well, I used to do it in office. Every Friday I used to have a wash your foot and come, for want of a better term. There's no distinction. You did not have to make an appointment. You just walk into the office and it's on a first come, first served. And we're simply saying, with the United Alliance, every minister of government has to allocate 1 day per week where they see persons who are coming in to bring their concerns to them directly. Okay, so that's another element that we're promising. And if it doesn't happen, put it on what's on your mind. Put it in social media and say, you promised this, you have not done it. So again, that's a full commitment which we're giving.
I'm going to take another. Well, this will be my final message. There's something like I won't be able to go through. And it says, "Hi, I'm glad you're running again. I like all your ideas. I also wanted to know about Montserrat having its own ferry."
Okay, okay, I'll have to let it out the bag. I'm actually going to the UK next week. I'm having a discussion with a private sector grouping in the UK. I'm also having a discussion with a private sector grouping in Antigua as well, where we will be looking at having a ferry. SOLAS certified, definitely SOLAS certified, which will be available to us for the Christmas season. This is not through government, but this is a private sector initiative. So it does not mean that government is going to spend any millions of dollars to get a ferry. Government will work with the private sector. This ferry that we're looking at is a 90-seater. It takes cargo as well. It does 25 knots. So it has good speed. So even the days when it's not doing the Montserrat Antigua run, it can do a Montserrat Guadeloupe run, it can do a Montserrat St. Martin run, etc., etc. When I come back from the UK, I will be in a position to say when that ferry will reach Montserrat.
Okay. I want to thank all listeners for this morning. There's so many things that we have to do and so many things that have been not done. But time is running out, so I'll ask to go on the table quickly.
So perhaps what we'll do, since we have so many questions, our next program, let's start off with the questions. Responding to the questions.
Yes, that's the point to go. We will continue that discussion. So each of you guys have 30 seconds. 30 seconds this morning, no more, to do your final goodbyes.
I'll start. It was a pleasure being here this morning. We have a lot of ideas, but sometimes I don't think the hour and a half is enough time for us to get them across properly. I still have some questions coming in on my phone, but we'll get to those next week. But what I would like to say is the United Alliance is a solutions-based party. If you realize, even when we talk about the issues that the other governments may have created, we come up with the solutions for them. We are now the leaders of the elections, because, as you would see, most of the parties, they follow us after we've come up with these solutions. So vote for the originators, because if they were in government 5 years before and can't come up with those solutions, and now that we're coming up with them, they're now copying us to say these are their solutions, that it's obvious that they'd probably need our help, or just like their posters, they have to lean them up on ours.
Yeah, okay, so somebody just start 15 seconds.
Menstruations at home by birth or by choice. I want to say that help is on the way. Montserrat is in a bad state right now. The United Alliance is solution-based. We are here to revitalize, resuscitate, but we need you out there to make it happen. We hear you, young persons. We hear you, and we will address the concerns that came in via WhatsApp.
Thank you very much. Next, Ms. Dorset. Now you're down to 15 seconds also.
All right, that's all right. We are a solution-based party, and come the 10th and 11th of September, we'll be hosting a professional development workshop and a wealth-building workshop at Davy Hills Community Center. Please, we will give you registration number and details in the next few days. So we are ready to build our country and to mold our nation. As I've said before, it's one for all and all for one. It's together with the United Alliance. We are going stronger and we are going forward and upwards.
My final comment is for the netball ladies that will be representing Montserrat next week. And I'm wishing you all the best on behalf of the United Alliance and the party. Not only that, the entire country. Go out and represent Montserrat well. You've practiced. Now it's time to show what you can do. So I'm wishing you all the best on behalf of us all here.
I just say one final thing in wrapping up. I am so proud to be a part of this group. I've seen the growth of all of the members over the past 6 months that we've been together, 6 months or more that we've been together. People trust us. We are the United Alliance, and we will bring change to Montserrat. Thank you very much.
And for the family and friends of John Lee, let us keep him in our prayers.
Yes.
And pray that he'll return to us safely. With that, I say good thanks and goodbye to our listeners. Join us next week when we will continue some of the questions which we were not able to answer this morning. Good luck. God bless.
Montserrat was sailing in full speed under the leadership of Reuben Meade. Then they turned the ship over to a captain named Romeo. Then all of a sudden the ship started going down. So they brought a new captain hailing from long ground. Some people start swimming, some even start drowning. Montserrat in trouble. Who but rescue might be? United, 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 United Alliance. United, United, United Alliance. United, United. Montserrat is in distress. We need you to clean up this mess. United, United, United Alliance. United, United, United Alliance. United, United. With your strong leadership, we know you can steer this ship. You have the capacity to turn this country around. With your competent crew, we will rebound. It's not too late. In your team, we put our faith.